Hello, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates, and I'm going to be speaking with you on the topic of 10 killer quotes about shame. Shame may not be the sexiest topic in the world, but it is something that many of you suffer from. It's, you know what it is. If you have it, you know what it is. It's dark. It's heavy, it's oppressive, it's filled with negativity about yourself. And I'm working on my book, Healing Toxic Shame Through Recovery. I'm about to have it completed. But throughout the book, I quote various authors and personalities about the subject of shame. And I wanted to share some of the best ones. I thought it would make a pretty cool video. So these are in no particular order in terms of how great I think they are. They're just 10 that I thought were really good quotes about shame. So the first one is by Carl Jung. Carl Jung, was a contemporary of Freud. He's one of the greatest theorists and therapist in the history of psychology. Jungian therapy, what you do is it's all dream analysis. It's very fascinating. But Carl Jung said, shame is a soul-eating emotion. Think of Jaws, the movie Jaws. That's what shame is. Shame is Jaws. Dun, 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 dun. It'll eat your soul. It'll take the fight out of you. It'll ruin your self-esteem. It'll take your hope away. It'll take your fight away. It'll eat you alive. And, long as you have your spirit and your faith and your fight, you can deal with just about anything. But if you don't think you're worth much and you have all this negative energy towards yourself and your spouse, you can't handle much, and it'll eat your soul. The second one I've talked about on my shame videos before, but I really like this quote. It's a killer quote. It's by Kirsty Egger out of her book. I think it's a novel. I don't think it's a therapy book. Raw Blue. But the woman knows something about shame. She said, shame isn't a quiet gray cloud. Shame's a drowning man who claws his way on top of you, scratching and tearing your skin, pushing you under the surface. You got what shame is? Shame will kill you. Shame's dangerous. The vast majority of suicides have the dark, negative aspect of shame very much involved. Shame is aggressive. Shame is out to hurt you. This third quote I've also blogged about, and it's from a movie called The Edge. And one of my favorite actors, probably my favorite actor of all time, is Anthony Hopkins. Of course, my favorite movie is Silence of the Lambs, but this is a movie where Anthony Hopkins played a character named Charles Morris, and he was a billionaire, but he was lost in the wilderness being chased by a bear with Alec Baldwin, who also wanted to kill him. Alec Baldwin had designs on both his money and his wife, so he wanted Charles to die. And they were talking, and Charles said, I once read an interesting book that said most people who die in the wilds, they die of shame. Alec Baldwin's character said, okay, Charles, fine, explain that, how they die of shame. Because what they do is they don't think. They don't do the very thing that can save them because they've lost hope, because they uh, don't believe or have confidence in themselves, then they don't do the one thing that could save them, and that's think. So it isn't the circumstances necessarily that kill them. It's the hopelessness and the lack of belief in yourself, the negative messages of shame. That's what kills them. Great quote, killer quote. Number 4 is by I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball. I'm old enough where I grew up watching black and white with Fred and Ethel and Desi and Lucy was always getting into trouble. She says, I hate failure, and that divorce was a number 1 failure in my eyes. It was the worst period of my life. Neither Desi nor I have been the same physically or mentally since then. So I hear this a lot. I don't hear it from Lucy, but I hear it from many people where they're beating themselves up and saying, I blew it. I did something bad. I should have worked harder. It was my fault. And I tell them, you know what? You are who you are. You were who you were. You have the issues you had, and you picked the person that you picked. So don't beat yourself up. You needed to go through that. That's the truth. I'm not just saying that. You weren't healthy enough to make it work. Lucy and Desi went through what they went through because they both were normal people, and normal people are really messed up people. As are you. As are you, my friend. As am I, especially me. But that's Lucy grieving, certainly. But my head's real shiny. I'm trying to rub the shininess out. But she's beating herself up. And it's fine to have regret, but she probably did the best she could with what she knew, and she just regrets it. And you could tell that they were a couple that loved each other. So this next one is by one of my heroes, the guy who wrote the preeminent book on shame, and I speak about him a lot in my book, John Bradshaw. Great therapist, great writer. He says, the most paradoxical aspect of neurotic shame is that it's the core motivator of the superachiever and the underachiever, the star and the scapegoat, the righteous and the wretched, the powerful and the pathetic. The core issue in both cases is shame. So if you need to be successful and to win, and to make money and have a big house and be successful and be impressive and get attention, you're probably driven by the shame message of you're not good enough. Maybe when I make $1 million, I'll be good enough. Maybe when I buy $1 million house. Maybe when I'm vice president in my job, then I'll be good enough. It's also true that shame drives underachievers, addicts, who do bad things, do unproductive things, sabotage themselves, and have all this negative energy, and then they feel so bad. What do? They go do it again. They go do their addiction again because they feel so bad. So shame and acting out sexually, shame and drug addiction and alcohol addiction, they go together. But it's the same core feeling. That's why in some family you'll have, one guy's the president of the United States, the other guy's a Skid Row bum, and that's because really they're not too much, different from each other in terms of how healthy they are. One is just a neurotically driven achiever. So here's a good one, and it's by a writer who just recently won the Nobel Peace Prize for writing. I mean, she won, or maybe it was a Pulitzer. I think it was a Pulitzer. My bad. She won a Pulitzer for writing novels, and it happens once a year. Her name is Alice Monroe, and in a book called Open Secrets, she said, "You cannot let your parents anywhere near your real humiliations. You cannot let your parents anywhere near your real humiliations. My son rarely gets in trouble. He's, how old is he now? He's 23 years old. He's coming up on 23 years old. And he's 23 years old. He's coming up on 24. But if he ever did get in trouble, he ain't going to tell his old dad. His dad and his mom are going to be probably his mom would be the last one he'd tell. But if he runs across some circumstance, he don't tell us. He wants us to be proud of him. He doesn't want us to be disappointed. And I'm so proud of my son. He's doing so well. But he's not going to let me anywhere near any of his. He doesn't have very many humiliations. I've had many more than he's ever had. But he won't let me near him. And it's not because I'd criticize him. I would support him and help him, of course. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. So here is a great quote by another one of my heroes, Brene Brown, who I think is the number one expert on shame in our culture in the world. And she's a shame researcher from Houston, Texas, the University of Houston. She says, if we can share our story with somebody who responds with empathy and understanding, shame cannot survive. I want to applaud. That is so good. I've seen it happen so many times where somebody new will come to group and they're just dripping with shame. They've bathed in shame for their whole life, and they come to group and they tell their story. And somebody says, hey, dude, I feel you. I was me 6 months ago. Don't beat yourself up. It's normal. Give them a hug afterwards. It's the antidote for shame. It'll heal your shame to have community and to cry your tears and to get empathy from peers. It's powerful when you get it from a therapist, and it's maybe even more powerful when you get it from a whole room of people. So number 8 is another one of my heroes, somebody I blogged about recently, the great writer Charles Dickens. He said in Great Expectation, heaven knows we need never be ashamed of our tears, for they are rain upon the blinding dust of earth, overlaying our hard hearts. I was better after I had cried than before, more sorry, more aware of my own ingratitude, and more gentle. That's so good, I'm going to read it again. Heaven knows we need never be ashamed of our tears, for they are rain upon the blinding dust of the earth, overlying our hard hearts. I was better after I had cried, better than before, more sorry, more aware of my own ingratitude, and more gentle. Another antidote for shame is humble, broken, tearful crying, tearful grobbing, sobbing, snotty crying that comes from the wounded little kid on the inside. That'll heal you. That's good stuff. In our culture, what we do is we take medication to keep from feeling when Mother Nature has provided a way for us to heal. And that is to have a flowing river of emotion flowing through us like a Coors Light commercial, one of those frosty streams, fresh streams. That as that's flowing through us through our tears and through our feeling and our talking, that'll heal you. But many times what an antidepressant will do is just mask it. Or we use our own ways of masking our pain by, watching, 50 episodes straight of Breaking Bad, or eating, addictive carbohydrates or whatever. I've been eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, and it's hard to get addicted to celery. Let me tell you, folks, it's hard. This is by an author I have not heard of, Anais Nin. It's from Why Men fall out of love. And the quote is, shame is the lie someone told you about yourself. And that's exactly true. Shame is a lie. It's this is one that's hard, and I don't share it to dishonor my mother, but in a rage one time, my mother, and it was because I had rage when I was a teenager. As a young man, she saw some rage, and where did I get it? I got it from my granddad. I got it from her. That's where I got it. And then she blames me. She said, "You're going to grow up and be a murderer." And I sort of believed it. The truth is, I haven't bumped anybody off yet, but I was wondering when I was going to break and start killing people off, because that's the message, that's the curse, that's the vision that she put on my life, that I was going to grow up and kill somebody. So shame's the lie that somebody told you about yourself. And then number 10 is by an author that many years ago, 10, 15 years ago, was in the news a lot. I believe he's from Iran or Iraq. Salman Rushdie, a book called Shame. He says, you can find shame in every house, burning in an ashtray, hanging framed from a wall, hanging or covering a bed. You can find shame in every house, burning in an ashtray, hanging framed upon a wall, covering a bed. Shame's everywhere. So these are just some powerful quotes about shame that get discussed in movies, in books, by authors, by TV stars, by fiction authors, by therapists, by researchers. There's many ways that people can learn about this very serious topic. So my goal is to help people learn about shame. I had this couple come in recently and on the brink of divorce, and he has a little bit of shame. He's got a lot of shame, and I'm pointing out that when you get critiqued this much, the part that makes it a shame reaction is you're reacting this much, and it only calls, you're only getting this, so this is and it's from an angry, unsafe, attacking person in your childhood, and so even if you're married to somebody who's fearful and sort of afraid and sort of gentle, if they step up and say, maybe you did this, you see your mom or your dad coming at you with vicious words, and you fight back in vicious ways. So I'm excited about this topic of shame. My book on shame, Healing Toxic Shame Through Recovery, will be out presently, probably in the next month. It goes to the editor hopefully by Monday. So thank you so much. We're so appreciative of you watching. My favorite poet, David White, says, a good word is bread for 1,000. And what we're trying to do here at Family Tree is we're trying to put a lot of good words out. We're trying to talk about things in life that are true. True about abandonment, about shame, about marriage, about forgiveness, about addiction. And, we talk from our hearts, and we know that there's a lot of truth in what we share, and it's helping a lot of people all over the world. So it's a great thing. Keep watching the videos. We have a list you can join, get a couple of free ebooks. You can join that on familytreecounseling.com, our website, familytreecounseling.com, and get some free ebooks, and also you'll get a weekly blast, just one of lots of blogs that we do and fresh videos, so you'll be up to date on that. So Thank you so much. I wish you a lot of healed shame and a lot of insight. I appreciate you watching the video. God bless.